Hello everyone, I'm Silver. Just want to say first off a quick apology for the kind of up and down uploading schedule as of late. That was school hasn't exactly kept me in the best state of mind to do YouTube. Just out of concern that I'll get too negative in a video, you know. But today I'm doing a breakdown. Now obviously I'm wearing different clothes, being that it's a different day from the time that I did breakdowns before. And I've done 3 breakdowns on the channel, all of which were done based off performances. Now there's one performance I did not cover in a breakdown, and that is the ritual. For the obvious reason that there was no video recorded of it, unfortunately. So I started thinking a lot today and a bit yesterday of how I could do this, how I could break down the ritual performance, because I want to break it down. And since you guys didn't get to see the performance, it would be kind of hard to break it down because you guys don't have anything to see all the Easter eggs and stuff. So I instead decided to break down the character that I play in the ritual instead. So the character we're looking at today is Dolor, the god of grief. So, it's kind of ironic that, me, a guy with a YouTube channel named after the Angel of Death, plays a character who is a god of grief. It is fun being me. As you can see, I'm a little drained from today. It wasn't exactly the best day in the world for me, so if I seem a bit off, that's why. But anyways, let's get started with breaking down. I have a picture of Dolor up on my computer, so if you see me look over here, I'm looking at the picture of Dolor that I have. It's just to help me remember all the visual things. So, I guess we'll go through a few things in the background first before we go to the actual thing. So, few background notes. 1. How did I come up with the name of Dolor? For those of you who don't know, I'm self-teaching myself Latin. So, Dolor, being the word that it is, Dolor is the Latin word for grief. And the whole ritual is focused around grief. I'm the god of grief. And that might be a bit, doubted by some people. That it was a little bit, we had a few problems in the making of our ritual, and I won't get into all of them. But one of them was like making my character, because everyone kind of had different visions of the character, and I don't say this to be rude, but even while we were making the ritual, I never really cared about what anyone else thought of Dolor, because Dolor was my character to make, and he was the only character that I truly got to make, because Connor I got to really invent, but it was still a script off paper. Stress was a script, and radio play was obviously a script. So this was the only character that we got to make the script for, and I really got to mold into the character I wanted, and that was all I was concerned with. I wasn't concerned with what anyone else thought. I was concerned with what I wanted out of my character once we got the concept for the ritual down. So, other members of the group might dispute that he's not the dark god of grief, but he is the dark god of grief. As the creator of the character, he is legally the god of grief as long as I say so. He's literally me, so I know who he is. But yeah, he actually went through a few name changes. Because originally, we proposed a lot of ideas for him, but it's always going to be this dark entity. So we had obviously the Antichrist, which would have been very controversial, and in a Christian school, definitely wasn't the right way to go. There was just the Dark Lord. Well, actually, no, he's not the god of grief. We call him the Dark Lord of grief, but actually, it's kind of weird because he has so many nicknames. Dark Lord was initially what we were going to use for a while there, and I think he actually, in the thing, is referred to as the Dark Lord. I think. I don't know, it's been a while. but I think he's referred to as either the Dark Lord or the Supreme, and either or, he's been called by both, especially in the play, and those are both suggested ways to show that he's like the top, the cream of the crop in the hierarchy. But Dolor was his official name, but it was never actually said in the play, but Dolor is his official name, and it's, you know, as I said, the Latin word for grief. And then there is, you know, the god of grief, which is another thing that he's called, but not actually officially called in the play. That's just more of a description of what he is. So, now that we've gotten the name out of the way, the making of Dolor. Now, Dolor, as you can see from the pictures, it's not the best design out there. I will readily admit that, but with limited time and whatnot to get everything prepared, it was kind of the best I could do. So the shoes are the same shoes I wear in every performance, like the neat slip-on leather shoes. Are they leather? I can't even tell. But it's the same shoes I wear in every performance. So if you want to know what shoes I was wearing for Dolor, just look at any other performance I did, and you'll see them. I'm wearing this like robe thing, kind of like a cheap onesie version of what you'd see people in the Bible wear, you know, to cover themselves. That is taken from a old Halloween costume of mine, a very, very old Halloween costume of mine. I think from 2017, 2018. So yeah, it was old, and you can tell that it's really like, you can tell I've definitely grown out of it, because like it goes up to like my ankles, but it doesn't cover, like it actually stops before my ankles, and you can see it shows my arm, which it's not supposed to do. I'll actually pull up a picture of what it initially looked like when I wore it for Halloween, the year that it fit me, but it really wasn't fitting me anymore. But it's the only thing that I really had that made him look dark and not just some like casual edgy teen trying to be like, oh, I'm the god of grief. So it's the only thing I could really do. To add to it, we have this like witch kind of spider poncho thingy on top of it, and that was held up by pins in the back. You won't see it, but it's held by clips that we clipped to my actual robe, and that was Bree's thing that she brought in randomly in case she wanted to have it on her costume, and then we just put on mine because it kind of suited me, added to the creepy factor, didn't make me look so much like an off-brand priest and more so like an actual kind of mystic god. But it is that's Bree's, and that's why I can never really replicate the costume, because I don't have all the pieces for it. Next is the hands. The gloves are from the same costume, I think, as the costume where I wore that robe. So they're like these all black gloves, and I always usually keep the gloves for my costumes. I don't know why, I just like gloves. But like, you know, the hand kind of, the light gloves that aren't meant for winter, but the ones that are kind of more for design and whatnot. And so they're kind of small in a way, so I like held them down, and then I kind of like, they'd move up if I did that. So what we did to fix it is we put red tape on it, red electrical tape, and that had served two purposes. One, it kept my, like, the gloves on my hands properly, and two, it actually kind of went with the whole theme there, because the red of that is the only thing tying me to like the color set, because I'm all black, and the colors, the color scheme of the background is like black, red, and white, kind of like Avengers Endgame. So the red really helps like tie that all in. Is like the black and the red. And initially I was supposed to have more red, but we didn't have time to implement that, and we didn't want to go overboard on my costume. My mask is just a generic mask. I actually wear it every day at school, or not every day I should say, but I wear it sometimes at school. But the question marks have faded because that was my Riddler mask. And then I had another one that was a white one, and it was a Joker mask. I did a smile on it. The eyes. Okay, the eyes are the next defining part, and arguably the most defining feature of Dolor compared to everyone else. Also, I find it really weird to say Dolor so much and speak of him to you guys, because if any of you watch The Umbrella Academy, then you know about Dolores. And therefore it feels really weird because it feels like a Dolores situation. but the eyes are this, it's got this black, like, line that goes on the eyelid, or not the eyelid, I should say, but goes like right under it, right? And then it has two tears that fall down from it on either side. And that really helped with the death stare. As you see in any picture of Dolor that I have, I am death staring something. And it really helps, like, bring out the white in, like, my eyes, as you can clearly tell by the contrast in color. But the way that happened, it was initially supposed to be red and black. If you look at, I don't typically like to do sponsors, especially people that, I don't want to promote. But if you look at, me doing my Afton Impression, which is a video on FNAF Pizzeria's channel. I'll put a link to it in the description below. You can see it both in the thumbnail. I actually took a picture and I put it in the thumbnail. It's a picture of me and you can kind of see the red, all that in my eyes. But also I think there are glimpses in that where you can see, like, I almost call it the beta version or like the alpha version of my eyes, because they weren't the official product, but they were the original idea that I had like red, and it's kind of like a bullseye in a way where it's like red and then black and then the strips down until it was just red. I mean, just black. I actually walked around school with like the face paint on and I was just dum-de-dum-de-dum, and everyone would stare at me like, what is wrong with that kid? He doesn't know how to do makeup. But that was, that. So it was originally red and black, but it became just black, and I think the black looks a lot better, but like I said, the red goes back to the same thing as the electrical tape. It was to tie in everything together. And it's inspired, it was my idea actually for it. It was inspired by Nightmare On from Ultimate Custom Night, because Brie would bring her laptop, and on her laptop she had Ultimate Custom Night. And I wanted to pull in as many ideas as I could from multiple different sources for Dolor. So I was like, hey, wait a minute, why don't I pull something from this game all about creepy characters? And I looked at Nightmare On and I was like, yeah, I think we can implement that. And so we tried it. Brie did my makeup every time I became Dolor. So there's that. But honestly, it's not that hard to do. So if I really wanted to, I could do my own. It's just easier with Brie. Next thing is my hair. And this really is kind of just a random thing that, doesn't really define the character. My hair is just swayed back. And it's swayed back only because, everyone was just like, oh, if you're going to be a different character, it's probably not best to have your hair styled the same way you usually do. And as you can see in some of my later performances, especially Stressed and the radio play, my hair at the time was like short, and then the top, it was like swayed to the side with a little bit of it coming down on the other side, kind of like this, but much shorter and much less not natural. But it was like, okay, so how should I make it that way it looks kind of decent at least, and I don't look like myself. I was like, oh, fine, I'll sway my hair back. That should work. And then it did work. And that is kind of the creation of Dolor. Originally, I was going to have like a face mask on. If I've shown you the picture of my Halloween costume from years back, it has this like face mask, and I was going to have the red eyes and the face mask, and I was going to have the complete set all together. But then everyone informed me that like, oh no, Miss Cheggis wants, to see your face because you're acting, and they want to see your facial expressions and whatnot. So I was just like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, God, I'll go find something to do for facials. And therefore, that's when we came up with the face paint. Now, we've gotten the name, and we've gotten the attire. Last thing to talk about is the mannerisms. You see, Dolor, he is interesting. He definitely is probably my most iconic character in terms of speech, because he's just so unique in that facet that it's just absolutely crazy. So his voice is very angry all the time. And there's one particular line that I can do that I always hit the nail on the head. Like, I could do any kind of sentence in Dolor's voice. But the one iconic line is kind of like Ethan's "It's science" from the radio play. Just the one line that stuck with everyone when I was doing Dolor is, "This society is twisted." And I don't want to do like the full Dolor voice, because if I do, then I'm gonna get very loud, and I have a grandmother sleeping in the room next to me, so I don't want to disturb her more than I probably already have. But yeah, it's got like a lot of raspiness to a lot of aggression behind it, and it tore my voice up. But then again, I am Portuguese, so I'm very loud, so it wasn't too hard. Didn't do as bad damage as I thought it would. I can't say it officially, so don't quote me on this. Take it with a pinch of salt. I think the voice was slightly helped by Isaiah's. And I'm not even joking about that. But I think he really did help me solidify my voice, but I can't confirm that for sure. It's all a bit hazy. But yeah, and then my mannerisms as Dolor. Dolor was always very fidgety. Unlike all the other characters, like Connor, he's very twitchy, and he likes to move a lot, and he'll change levels and everything. But it's kind of done naturally, in a sense. And then Alex is just very shaky. He's very, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" And he's just very, on edge about everything, because he's so, fed up and so stressed and so scared. And then Professor Waldman, well, we don't need to get into that because I didn't have to create anything for him. But Dolor is very, I guess for lack of a better term, animated in his movements. He does a lot of actions, and kind of like me, when I'm talking to you, I do all these hand movements and stuff. Dolor does the exact same thing. He'll point at people and he'll stare, and that scared a lot of people. My stare at people would just scare everybody. But yeah, he'll point and he'll shake and he'll clutch his fist and he'll raise his hand up high and he'll do that. He'll move his hands to anything, basically. He's very symbolic in his movements. And there's a couple of clips that I'll insert after I'm done talking, that'll kind of prove that you can see just before, I go. But yeah, Dolor was one of the most iconic. Now, this can be debated by a lot of things, and, not like you guys can really have an opinion on it because you didn't see every performance that was there. But a lot of people, it started off by just me saying it, but a lot of people agree that I had the best individual performance in the rituals, but our group was nowhere near the best performance in the rituals group, because it was kind of catastrophe. It was, oh boy, we were doing really good, and then someone had to ask for a script in the middle of our play. But Dolor, I think, was very iconic. It was your typical, satanic ritual. But I think we added a lot to it that made it stand out from just the generic norm. Or at least my character stood out from the generic norm. And I think it was very good. Also, I want to put out there, I did not mean to death stare the camera in our group picture for our performance. That was just me fine, I'll take the picture. And I was just so fed up with it because I wanted to get out of the costume. I was actually, you can kind of tell, I don't know why I'm moving the mouse you can see it, but you can kind of tell that my face and my head is glistening because I was hot. And given the fact that for the first half of the performance I was locked in a box, I was hot. I was very, 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 very warm in that box. Given the fact I was just warm, very hot. But yeah, there you go. That is Dolor. I couldn't break down the performance for you. I probably could, but I can't. I don't know if I can even find a script, otherwise I'd kind of rehearse my lines for it. But, yeah. That's been Dolor. So, once again, you know, this was these breakdowns are always inspired by new Rockstars, so go check them out. Like I said, go check out the me doing the impression of Afton while I was locked in the box too, while we were practicing a ritual, which is on Bree's channel, FNAF's Pizzeria. Probably gonna. I have to figure that out still. So for now, it's on that. But I'll change this all. This is probably these words are gonna be relevant to in time when I get it all sorted out, because technically, given the fact that I'm in majority of the videos on the channel, I have to find some way to convert the videos from that account to this one, which is going to be some hell of a... I gotta figure it out. I really do. I gotta figure it out. Maybe I pay for YouTube Premium for like a day or so and just download all of my videos from Bree's channel and then put them on mine, cancel the free subscription to YouTube Premium, and then that just be it. Could probably do that. I might have to do that if I don't figure out another way. Meh. I'll figure it out eventually. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm As a Silver. Like, subscribe for more of this, more gaming, more vlogs, or whatever else comes. I'll see you all very, very soon. Later, guys.